Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Friday night, December 6, 2019. Thank you all for joining us tonight. For those of you who are checking our broadcast out this morning, tonight we'll give a full report here on Grand Solar Minimum news. Let's get started with space weather though. Our solar wind speeds, believe it or not, are not much changed since this morning at 365.9 kilometers per second with a density of 3.6. Now, still 0 sunspots to talk about, and 23 days in a row now without sunspots, 259 days in 2019 without sunspots. And there was a prediction that I made today, this morning's show, and I actually said that this small little coronal hole that was at the equatorial region, or just below it, I should say, Earth facing, we did have a 6.4 earthquake. I did say 6.5, but still. We got the 6.4, and as we'll go over that here in a bit, the USGS did downgrade that to a 6.5. But we had KP this morning of 1, 24-hour max of 2, and a Earth-facing coronal hole, which always gives me the indication as well that we could see a 6.5 or stronger within the next 24 to 48 hours. And sure enough, 4 minutes after announcing that, we had the 6.4 in Tonga. So let's get back to our space weather. The TCI is definitely unchanged, 3.27. Again, KP indices still sitting at a 1 and a 2. Not saying we couldn't get some 6.0, 6.2 type earthquakes in the same region as aftershocks. We'll keep our eyes on that as well. The cosmic rays, also a situation that's increasing. Over the last 3 days, we were sitting at 8.5%. Now it's up to 10.6%. which a 7-day change is up now to 1.4%. And want to put this in perspective as well. The record high of counts of cosmic rays in the atmosphere was 11.7%, and that was during February of 2009. We are 1.1% away from record-breaking cosmic rays levels. So almost at a space age record at the moment. Also, I want to announce that there could be a slight increase in solar wind speeds on December 8th and early December 9th as well. We are watching the Earth-facing coronal hole that we have right now. That is going to be the area that we're going to be watching for as far as effects of increased solar wind speeds. Now, we are not expecting any kind of geomagnetic storm with this particular coronal hole and solar wind stream. So no worries on that part, but still a chance for some minor solar winds to increase, as we thought we had a chance for that on this recent alert, which we were looking for on December 4th. And it this is about the peak of it right here, folks, unfortunately. All right, let's take a look at our space weather page and get some stats here real quick. As you can see, the KP indices have been up and down at 1 and 0. 2 is a 24-hour max. And this is what we got to look for here. The eastern limb seems to pick up a little bit more on the coronal hole action. Let me get the arrow out. Where's she at? There she is. So here we are there. That's us. This is what's coming. Here's another one. So it looks like we have a couple of decent sized coronal holes that could bring increased solar wind speeds. And man, do I have some footage to show you, or some pictures that artists are depicting as what the solar probe is experiencing right now. A very exciting report on that. In fact, let's go ahead and jump right into that. As basically, in wrapping this up, no sunspots to talk about. We could very well see a pretty long streak of 0 days without sunspot, unless we just get that sudden active region that turns into a sunspot and then decays within 36 hours, which is typical here in solar minimums. And let's go over to the grandsolarminimum.com, where exploring the sun, Parker Solar Probe, first findings. Wow, indeed. Check out the video here from NASA. But Mari did a quick little piece here and showed us some examples of what we are seeing with the magnetic and the solar wind here. This is great. Surprise magnetic reversals and unexpectedly fast rotating wind mark, and first findings from NASA's solar probe, the Parker probe. NASA's Parker probe mission has returned unprecedented data from near the sun, accumulating in new discoveries published on December 4th, 2019 in the Journal of Nature. Among the findings are new understandings of how the sun's constant outflow of material, the solar wind, behaves. Seen near Earth, where it can interact with our planet's natural magnetic field and cause space weather effects that interfere with technology. They forgot to mention the weather part. The solar wind appears to be a relatively uniform flow of plasma, but Parker Solar Probe observations reveal complicated, active system not seen from Earth, far from Earth. Here is images where the flips in the sun's magnetic fields, dubbed as switchbacks, appear to be very common to several minutes as they flow. Appear to be common phenomena in solar wind inside the orbit of Mercury and last anywhere from a few seconds to several minutes as they flow over NASA's Parker probe. Again, I'm not sure if this is the actual footage. This might be just an artist impression of the situation, just according to the data that they have and what they've seen. Still remarkable photos and imagery that we're seeing about this. This right here is real footage. It says right here, the instrument Parker Solar captured imagery of the constant outflow of material from the sun during its close approach in November. Now, what we're going to show you here, the flashes, the little, looks like snow of, maybe like stars going by really fast. That is the actual plasma inside the solar wind. So the solar wind carries plasma within these highly charged particles. And guys, honestly, this is just a remarkable piece, a great write-up, very impressive stuff that we're finding out about the solar probe. Another thing too, the sun is surrounded by a ring of dust made of cosmic crumbs of collisions that formed planets, asteroids, comets, and other celestial bodies billions of years ago. On clear nights, observers of Earth can see a hint of the dust known as zodiacal dust or false dawn. And just watching this footage, guys, is incredible. Again, showing these small events that have never been seen before because of how close Parker is to the sun. This here says this is energetic particle instruments have measured several never seen before events so small that all trace of them is lost before they reach Earth. These instruments have also measured a rare type of particle burst with particularly high ratio of heavier elements, suggesting that both types of the events may be more common than scientists previously thought. Solar energetic particle events are important to understand as they can arise suddenly and lead to space weather conditions near Earth that can potentially be harmful to astronauts. Unraveling the sources, acceleration, transport of solar energetic particles will help us better protect humans in space for the future. Now, I've already reported that we've seen the days decrease for an astronaut in space go down to 700, where it used to be 1,000 days in space. Again, this article and all these images and video at the top of the screen can be found here at our space weather section or at thegrandsolarminimum.com. Thanks again to Mari for credits here at the bottom as well for everything that you guys saw today. What amazing time to be alive, to be able to witness such data being streamed back into Earth, information that so many mysteries about the sun, and we're going to find out so much in the coming years when this solar, especially during this solar minimum, things that, no one's observed in the last 200 years or so. So just some interesting footage here, and we will definitely keep you guys abreast on the situation. All right, let's get to some headline news tonight. Severe weather warnings up as Storm Ataya heads towards Ireland and the UK. Hello. The Met issued an orange and yellow weather warnings as Storm Ataya is set to strike the country on Sunday, December 8th, 2019. The Met Office has warned that massive waves, travel, and power disruptions, flooding, damages to properties are likely. Ataya is the first named storm of the 2019-2020 season. Southerly winds swerving northwesterly will reach average speeds of 40 to 50 miles per hour with gusts up to 81 miles per hour. The 8 areas of orange warning of Donegal, Galway, Leitrim, Mayo, Sligo, Clare, and Kerry beginning at 9 UTC on Sunday. Orange warning means infrequent and dangerous weather conditions may pose a threat to life and property. A yellow status or wind advisory will also be in place for Leinster, Cavan, Monaghan, Roscommon, Cork, Tipperary, and Waterford effective Sunday 1500 UTC until Monday 600 UTC. Take a look at some of this forecast map here in motion. And yeah, the joys of, it's a pretty massive system there. It definitely is going to crash into the UK. Definitely going to see lots of rain from this. Lots of wind. Those isobars are nice and tight. And then once that storm is through, well, hello. Here comes another one. Pretty big too. So more moisture heading to the UK. I cover the UK in the mornings on the updates for the weather. And here's a look at our peak wind gust as well. The purple being a lot faster, obviously. So high winds definitely will affect Ireland, Scotland, and the UK, Wales as well. Thanks to the watchers out there, watchers.news. And another story from them, there is the official report of the shallow downgraded from 6.4 that was called on this channel. Anyway, just kidding. Shallow earthquake registered by the USGS as an M6 hit the Tonga region at 1304 UTC on December 6, 2019. The agency is reporting a depth of 6.2 miles. That has not changed. At this moment, we have not heard of any injuries, any deaths, anything related to this earthquake. Just reporting on its official that it has been downgraded to a 6.0, but when the depth stayed the same. So go figure, they always take it down a few notches, right? And 2.8 million people affected, more than 280 have been killed in heavy rains caused by exceptionally strong Indian Ocean dipole. This is in Eastern Africa. And they are talking about this landslide, severe flooding across Eastern Africa. The UN Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs reported on Thursday, December 5th, 2019, the extreme weather conditions are driven by exceptionally strong Indian Ocean dipole. Parts of the region, especially Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, already saw 80% above average rainfall. Annual short rains, which usually last from October to December, have been significantly heavy in Kenya and have affected over 160,000 residents in over 31 countries. Goodness. At least 132 people have reportedly died, including 72 who were killed by a landslide, buried their homes in West Pokot County, the UN OCHA has stated. Humanitarian response efforts also found it challenging to reach affected areas as roads and bridges were damaged. In many areas, the floods are coming on the back of the consecutive droughts, while in others, people impacted by the floods are also suffering from conflict and violence. As families struggle to cope with these compounding and complex shocks, there is a high risk of their adopting negative coping mechanisms, including school dropout and early marriage. Interesting facts here. Thank you, watchers.news. More photos, and geez, that's one heck of a landslide there, folks. Flooding rains, saturating the soil, causing landslides, destroying tons of infrastructure here all over the world. Just another headline here in the notch of the belt of the grand solar minimum, or at least the very beginning. And here's a story that's kind of picking up a little bit more traction. I remember saying earlier this week that, you know, December, we might just chalk it up to just a right about average temperatures for the month. Well, no, not yet anyway. Right now, we're dealing with some very cold temperatures approaching the United States by some point midweek next week on Wednesday, December 11th. Very cold temperatures are expected to enter the northern plains and the upper Midwest during the beginning of next week, with the coldest temperature forecast to occur on Wednesday, December 11th. I remember seeing something Bastardi was comparing a certain situation near Alaska to now, and the last time that happened was in 2014 in January, when I remember living in Southwest Ohio. We had the polar vortex. Temperatures got to -17 for a high, -24 for overnight lows. And I remember the furnace, we had it set up at 75 and it couldn't even stay at 61 in the living room. Very, very, very cold night as well. High temperatures below zero and low temperatures around -20 are possible across northern portions of this region, folks. You see the map. Millennial Farmer will probably get a taste of this. This is minimum temperatures, by the way. Here's a quick little map of the anomalies. We are going to look at a brief warm-up starting on Monday and Tuesday in the East Coast, Northeast, and it's going to be followed by this brutally cold air. And just how long it's going to last, well, we'll keep an eye on that as weather. But here at AccuWeather.com, weather whiplash to bring warm-up, heavy rain and flood threat, followed by Arctic blast to the northeast. Yeah, if you live in the Northeast, New York, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Maine, get ready. Pennsylvania as well, New Jersey, Maryland. We have a pretty massive system, along with, like I said, some mild for this time of year temperatures. We're talking about 40s, some 50s may appear in southern parts of New York. This is going to be probably just a crazy week for weather, and it's only Friday yet, but I'm looking ahead for Monday and Tuesday, and then Friday and Saturday, and then believe it or not, we have another storm by midweek of the following week that could affect the majority of the country on the East Coast and the Midwest. Forecasters are closely watching a storm system that is expected to take shape and track towards the Great Lakes early next week, and it will be the player that will help flip the weather conditions in the east, as wintry weather and yet another snowstorm are predicted for portions of the Midwest. Surging warm and moist air will race out ahead of this system. So all that snow we have right now in the capital region here in New York, the 23 inches, the 28 inches, good chance of most of that melting because A, temperatures will be in the 40s, and B, we're talking about some pretty decent sized rain coming in. Look at that, 58 on Tuesday for Boston. That's a heat wave, folks. Temperatures are expected to rebound to the 30s over the northern tier, near 50 in parts of Virginia. On Monday, temperatures are forecast to surge in the 40s across the northern tier, 50s and 60s across the mid-Atlantic region. The warm air combined with rain will dissolve the deep snow over the part of the northeast, potentially leading to flooding issues for some communities. Recent storms have buried parts of New York and central and northern New England under as much as 3 feet of snow in the last couple of weeks. Also had some pretty bad traffic accidents today on just 2 to 4 inches on the I-87 northbound. I saw at least 12 vehicles off the road in just less than 15 miles. Within existing snow on the ground, there is between 1 to 5 inches of water as of Thursday, December 5th. Many areas, including those places where deep snow is on the ground, may stay well above freezing on Sunday night, which can allow the snow to soften up. Some of the deep snow may harmlessly melt from Sunday to early Monday before the storm and its soaking rain arrives, but there is a risk that surging temperatures, moist air, and drenching rain may cause rapid meltdown of the existing snow cover from later Monday into Tuesday. So rapid snow melt, 10 to 20 degrees above normal. Areas of fog, yeah. So heavy rain, flooding, fog, rapid snow melt. That's Monday and Tuesday. That's how we start the week here in the Northeast. All right. Then, right after this storm finally makes its way through on Wednesday, we will see this storm ending in snow, believe it or not, along with bringing a swath of heavy snow to part of upper Midwest. Next week's storm is predicted to unleash Arctic air in its wake later Tuesday and Wednesday. Remaining areas of slush and standing water can freeze as temperatures plummet across the Northeast, and it's not as near as bad as it will be in Minnesota the upper part of Michigan, where Interlochen, Traverse City are. Also, Wisconsin, northern Wisconsin, Green Bay, very, very, very cold. Parts of North Dakota as well. You can see temperatures negative 10 to negative 20 degrees below zero. There's a chance that the cold air may catch up with the back end of the rain and cause a period of snow at the tail end of the storm at midweek. And that's where I'm kind of saying we're going to see some lake effect snow showers happening from this system when that happens. Since the storm will break rather strong, it's possible that a secondary storm may develop along the push of frigid air, according to AccuWeather Chief Meteorologist Bernie Rayno. And so storm threat into Tuesday night, into Wednesday night. No indications are pointing to a big snowstorm developing, and rather it could be more of a nuisance snowfall, like today, where we saw that 2 to 4. That's just for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And I'll show you that here in a minute. But before we get into our GFS Outlook, I would like to address the old white lady in the room. That's right, Miss Nancy Pelosi. So President Trump has declared back in November 2019 that we are officially pulling out of the Paris Treaty Accord. 4:30 on December 2nd, U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says leaders should stick with the science when it comes to climate change. Speaking to reporters Monday at Madrid at a UN meeting on climate change, Pelosi was asked about comments by Spain's interim prime minister that only a handful of fanatics deny evidence of man-made global warming. Pelosi responded by saying she had 3 words to describe how we address this: science, science, and science, and maybe 4, science again. She added, if we can stick with the science, I think we can come up with some sane solutions to it all. That was actually voice actress for Pelosi. Pelosi led a delegation of more than a dozen Democratic members of Congress to the climate talks to declare they will stand by the 2015 Paris Accord, from which President Donald Trump recently announced the U.S. would withdraw from. So we have all of this waste of time of court proceedings and hearings in the Congress and the House and Judiciary Committee about whether there was a quid pro quo with President Trump and the president of the Ukraine and all this stuff about military aid and blah, 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 blah. But why isn't anybody upset about Speaker Nancy Pelosi with a brigade of 12, her dozen, her I don't know, minion dozen who follow along, and tell everyone there at this Madrid climate talk, hey, even though the person who's in charge of this country is pulling us out, we're still here. We're all about it. Trust me, it won't happen. This is arrogance. This is Pelosi overreaching her boundaries, folks. Seriously. This is Pelosi overreaching her boundaries. I don't care that there is a party divide. There used to be this thing called respect. People like Pelosi are making this country look like a bunch of clowns with no discipline and no order. The president says we're pulling out, yet he's got a bunch of rebels in Congress who say, oh, no, we're still in it. Don't worry. I think there should be an outrage for this. I think there should be a big deal. She is falsely representing this country. All right? Trump has his reasons to pull us out of this Paris Treaty. Why? Because USA was going to fund $100 billion to help pay off these 190 countries that are going to sign on to the deal and get a little bit of, look, we're going to pay them to join. We'll get them fired up about reducing emissions, and you know, who knows what happens next. Trump doesn't want to have anything to do with that, period. He thinks it's a waste of American taxpayers. However, Democratic Speaker Pelosi believes that we should definitely adopt all of these green policies. I was reading this article here in the New York Times, and Poland is one of Europe's largest coal producers and depends on the fossil fuel for about 80% of its energy. But they want to get rid of coal and wood heaters to promote solar energy and also have plans for sea wind turbines. Poland gets cold in the winter, all right? Snows a lot. I'm curious to see how solar and wind are going to keep these people warm during these severe weather storms. But, you know, Mari and I have been talking about this lately, and people should be outraged that a person who is not in position to make this decision, defiant against the president, and still proceeds as if we are a part of this Paris climate treaty. People should be upset about this, folks. I'm sorry. It's defiant. It's treasonous. She's out there negotiating with other countries without permission. It's not legal. Her words mean absolutely nothing because the commander-in-chief is the one who's going to pull the plug on this particular project. All right, so moving along here, I just wanted to pass this article off here. New York Times, December 2nd, 2019. Definitely pay attention to what's going on here, folks. I've never seen so much defiance in my life. You don't have to like every politician that gets elected. Everybody's different. I get it. It doesn't matter what party you support. All I'm saying is you have to respect the command, the chain of command. And there are people who are making up things and doing things just to try to make the person in charge look bad. When in reality, it makes our entire country look bad. These foreign countries looking at us right now, watching this circus on TV with the impeachment hearings, and then they see this clown Pelosi going to Madrid, telling everybody everything's fine, don't worry about it, even though we just said we're going to pull out, he's full of it, don't worry guys, we got this. That's what Pelosi's doing. Science, science, science. That's what she says. Stick to the science. And they'll come up with some sane solutions. These people are just puppets. They don't know what they're talking about. All right, so let's get into the GFS Outlook here over the next several days, shall we? Yeah, so right now we were dealing with a little bit of snow showers that actually looks like it's going to carry into Saturday morning. Overnight tonight, we were supposed to be ending with the snow showers by this afternoon, but Saturday that moves out, system moves in on the northwest, gets real messy again, Northern California, Washington, and Oregon, snow in Montana and Idaho, and then the next storm is starting to get its act together here by Monday, December 9th. Snow across the upper northern plains here and in the upper Great Lakes as well. This is going to be the rain event that AccuWeather was talking about, the rapid melt, possible flash flooding. It is going to be a wet and soggy day for the Ohio Valley all the way through the Northeast on Tuesday, December 10th. We'll also have some mild temperatures to go along with this. So in one hand, it'll feel good temperature-wise, but on the other, it's going to rain all day. It's going to be foggy all day. It's going to be slushy all day. It's going to be watery all day. Just a plain out nasty day for Tuesday. And then as this storm leaves the United States, on the back end, it's going to be cold enough for snow at the back end of this and heavy snow along the East Coast. New Jersey, Philadelphia, New York City, Boston even could see some accumulating snows here at the tail end of the storm on Wednesday, as some serious cold air is starting to filter in the Northeast as well. And then we see some lake effect showers. Syracuse stands a chance of getting some decent snow from this. As that system's gone by Friday, we've got our next storm maker happening again in the upper Great Lakes. The Northwest also starting to see rain and snow build in. And then our next system takes shape here by Saturday, December 14th. Absolute soaker across the East Coast through Ohio. Starts as rain on Saturday, December 14th. Again, that ridging, that mild, brief warm-up, and right behind it is going to be cold and snow to end on December 15th. Now, originally I thought this system would probably bring more snow to the region, but it looks like we're going to see more rain Snow at the end of it, but nothing to compare what we've already seen here early on in December. High pressure trying to build across the United States on the 16th. Temperatures are pretty cold. In fact, I'll go over that here in a minute as well. And then another storm system building across the four corner states into Kansas, Nebraska, southern parts, Texas, rain in Oklahoma, ice in Missouri, parts of Illinois, Indiana, and this is going to go right through Southwest Ohio, Dayton to Cincinnati. This is going to be a significant icing chance for you folks. And then this storm, once again, is riding this ridging where temperatures will be up briefly, but right behind it, a strong cold front on the 19th of December. Looking at a, hello, Waylon, looking at a major winter storm once again by Thursday, December 19th in the Northeast, heading up the East Coast. This one, we actually tracked this a couple nights ago. This was slated to be in the area around the 17th and 18th. They're pushing this back to the 19th, but some serious heavy icing possible with this, and then it's going to be followed up with heavy snowfall for over 24 hours as well. So we're going to get rain, heavy rain, flooding rain, snow, cold, warm back up again, just enough to get temperatures at rain again, and then more snow, and then cold for the Northeast. I mean, it's just whiplash. AccuWeather had it down perfect. Weather whiplash. And then, of course, we got several big low-pressure systems moving in on the West Coast, starting after the 17th, 1, 2, 3, bringing rain and snow. Fourth system coming in. That one looks pretty intense as well. So what are our temperatures looking like? Well, we'll get to watch this cold air mass try to make its way south. Here we are by Sunday. We start to see that brief mild air starting to work up the East Coast here in the Northeast as cold air starts pressing from the north. 40s, and that feels like 60s to me at this point, as cold as it's been. This is by Tuesday. As that storm moves through, it's going to bring colder air, but the coldest air, really Arctic air, is going to be in parts of Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wisconsin, very northern parts of Iowa, and just playing out freezing temperatures on the 12th, 13th, and then a brief warm-up once again on the 14th. That's where we start to see the rain enter the Northeast, and then another powerful push of Arctic air to invade the Northeast and the northern plains by Monday, December 16th, as this continues to move south. And thankfully, right now, the GFS model is showing some cold air, but the coldest, unfortunately for the Canadians, is going to stay in Canada. But if you live in the Northeast, in the Northern Plains, and the Midwest, expect some really cold air, especially in the Dakotas and Minnesota. This is very early for this kind of cold air. Overnight lows, and then look at this. By December 22nd, we will see once again this very cold air trying to make its way into the United States. These are daytime highs, guys. 3 degrees for December 22nd. So starting next week, say this is the first wave of cold air right here on the 9th, Monday. First wave, and then we kind of rebound a little bit right here by Saturday of the weekend. 40s and 30s, nothing balmy or anything like that. And then once we start getting out of the weekend, then that second blast of Arctic air makes its way across the northern part of the United States, I should say. Northwest, Northern Plains, Midwest, Nebraska, Kansas. Very, very, very cold weather. Winter, by the time we get to the 21st, it will definitely feel like the first day of winter. Here is December 21st. Look at that. The majority of the country will be below freezing on December 21st. Daytime highs and lows. And that ridging, that warm-up will be more the 30s and 40s. No more 50s at all at this point. For December 22nd, the second day of winter, single-digit temperatures across the Midwest, the Northern Plains, even Illinois, teens for the Ohio Valley, and teens throughout the Northeast. So some serious cold air on the way here for us in the United States. Let's take a quick look at our friends across the pond. As we talked about earlier, some severe wet weather coming, also some snow showers expected, but these guys get way more rain than we do, for sure. And the UK seems to see more frequent storms moving through here in the next couple of weeks. Buckle up, your weather starts to get a little crazy as well. Let's take a look at temperatures across the region here. 30s and 40s for the most part. The blue is the 20s, and the darker blues, of course, gets even colder than that. But typical average temperatures for this time, but now we start to see a lot cooler temperatures taking over as we get to mid-December, and the UK starting to see some blues here in the northern areas, the Midlands, as we get through the 16th of December. Now overnight lows starting to get below freezing. Daytime highs struggle to stay above freezing. And then we get a brief mild warm-up towards the end of December, heading into the Christmas holiday. So a mixed bag here across the pond. Some mild, some average temperatures, a little bit cold, and then a little bit above average. So far, lucky you guys, you're not experiencing this brutally cold air that we're getting right now here in the States. And I'm sure you folks are not depressed about that either. Guys, let's all face it. I mean, as much as we know that we're going to experience colder winters in the future, nobody's rooting for this. I always believe that cold temperatures are a lot more dangerous than the warmer temperatures. So this is a time where we need to be a little more aware and keep our eye on the weather, as AccuWeather perfectly described it. This weather is whiplashing. Warm, cold, rain, snow, flooding, snowing, crazy stuff in the Northeast, crazy stuff in the Northwest, and really cold temperatures across the upper northern plains and the upper Great Lakes as well. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us tonight on this report of the grand solar minimum. We hope you guys got something out of the video tonight. Please check us out tomorrow night. Tentatively, we'll be doing a call-in show, and that is for our Patreon members. If you guys are not a patron, please join us over at the Patreon channel. It only costs $1 and it gets you access to the weekly call-in show. So keep that in mind. Also, check us out on our t-shirt shop on our website. Visit our Teespring shop. Mari's got some new t-shirts that are recently put on sale. So right before the holidays, that perfect little gift for the science enthusiast, the real science enthusiast in your life. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us tonight. Thanks for tuning in, and we will talk soon, guys. Have a great evening.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.